And I've never felt anything like this before. So the way that I describe it, and the way I've described it to everyone else that I've spoken to about this, is when I met my partner Lakin, there was like this giddy schoolgirl moment where I was explaining this, connection that we have to everyone. And everyone that I've spoken to about this is like, yeah, you can see the love written all over your face. But I'd never felt anything like that for myself. And I was feeling that same schoolgirl love, that just like that overwhelming sense of just beauty. I just fucking love myself so much was what I was feeling. And I'd never felt that before in my entire life. And it just filled my whole fucking body and filled my whole cup. And I was in awe. Hey legends, I just quickly want to say before we go into this podcast episode that a lot of the stuff that I talk about in this episode might sound like a crazy breakthrough that happened within like 2 days. But the one thing that I want to clarify, and I actually should have said this in the episode itself, is that I would not have been able to have these breakthroughs and have this crazy healing experience if it wasn't for all the work that I've done for the last 8 years prior. So don't think that you can go and do ayahuasca or go and do one of these plant ceremonies or one of these plant medicines and just have these absolutely fucking crazy, profound experiences. Because I can tell you right now, if I didn't have the mental strength and I hadn't calloused my mind the way that I have over the years, I probably wouldn't be able to handle this, because there was parts of this experience that were fucking scary. And there was parts of this experience where, especially on the second night, where I was like, oh fuck, I might be in danger here. So one thing I really want to fucking drive home is that this medicine is fucking dangerous and it is powerful. But, if you do feel the call and you feel like you're ready to experience it, then make sure you do it with the right person. Make sure you feel completely comfortable and safe, and make sure that the person or the people that you're doing it with are very experienced, because it is very easy, and I guess I can see this now, it would be very easy for someone to slip off the edge, and I've heard of lots of cases of people ending up schizophrenic and having crazy manic episodes because of it. So it's only because of all the work that I've done previously that I was able to actually make sense of all these things that were happening and actually get the experience that I got. I hope that makes sense, guys. But anyways, enjoy the episode. It was a fucking very, very extremely enjoyable ride. But there was obviously, like I said, some bumpy times along the way as well. So enjoy the episode. Let me know what you think. And if you do want to have more of a chat about this, please feel free to message me on Instagram. My details are always down below in the show notes, so you guys can message me anytime. That's what this is here for. I am here to speak to you. English. I'm here to speak to you all and serve you to the best of my ability. That's what my purpose is. See you in a sec. Alrighty then, legends. It has been a hot minute since I've been in front of this microphone by myself, giving you guys a solid podcast, but we're here, we're back, and we're ready to rip in. Now, I've been teasing a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about on today's episode on my Instagram, and a couple of you guys have expressed that you're really excited to hear about today's episode. But before I go into what I'm going to be talking about, I do have a very small favor to ask, as always, and that is, if you have been enjoying the podcast, you're getting something out of it, then please go and hit that subscribe button and share this with just one of your friends, because as you know, the more eyes and ears we can get on the podcast, the bigger and better guests I can bring for you guys. And in turn, the more value we're going to be able to deliver. This is a non-for-profit. This podcast is all about just delivering for you guys. And hopefully just one of you guys that's out there right now today will be able to listen to this, get something out of it that might actually spark that change within your life. And that's what this podcast is all about. Anyways, so today I am going to be speaking on a plant medicine ceremony that I sat over the weekend. And for anyone that doesn't know what plant medicine is, this is the likes of ayahuasca, mescaline, San Pedro, wachuma, mushrooms, all this sort of stuff. So natural medicines that have been used for thousands and thousands and thousands of years to create experiences of healing for people. Now, today I'm going to be talking about ayahuasca, which is something that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Native to South America. So it's an Amazonian hallucinogenic. And it's two plants that are mixed together to create this very, very, very strong brew of DMT, which has just throughout time created, or been known to create these healing journeys. But there's also obviously going to be negative side effects. So for anyone that doesn't know what ayahuasca is, that's Ayahuasca, I believe. Go and look it up. There's heaps of information out there about it. But I went into this with a really open mind, and I was actually very fucking scared. So we're going to start from the beginning around, I guess, how I got onto this and how I ended up at a plant medicine ceremony, sitting with 20 people that I'd never met, obviously tripping balls, but also having one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had in my entire life. So when they talk about ayahuasca, it refers to the mother, which is actually a spirit. So she is not just a medicine as such. She's actually a energetical presence like you or I. And when you sit with ayahuasca, you'll feel that. You'll feel this presence, like there's someone there. It's almost like there's this woman, this mother there giving you this warm hug. And I know that might sound a little bit airy-fairy for a lot of you guys out there, but just come into this with an open mind because, look, to be fair, once upon a time, this is something that I wouldn't have been open to either. But anyways, long story short, I heard about plant medicines from a guest of mine that's actually been on the podcast. She started to run her own plant medicine ceremonies using something called San Pedro, which is known as the grandfather. Wachuma, which is actually a cactus. And she said to me, Ben, you need to come to this. Honestly, I've never experienced healing like this. And she ran a few ceremonies and she said that it was just a beautiful experience. And everyone that had sat with her just had these profound experiences. So if anyone that doesn't know about ayahuasca and that sort of stuff, or might have even heard about it, you probably heard that there's a good chance you're going to purge. You're going to spew your ring up. You're going to vomit in amongst these profound hallucinations that you're having. Anyways, so I was a bit hesitant at first, but after hearing more and more about it, I was like, okay, maybe this is something that I'd like to do. So I had that being the first call. Someone mentioned it to me because they say that ayahuasca or the mother will call to you. You know, she'll present herself to you. And it's not one of these things that you should just go and try and do like you would if you were doing cocaine. It's not like doing a drug at all. It's actually sitting with this energy and sitting with this experience where you're actually being guided through parts of your life that you need to heal, because you get asked to set intentions and you don't necessarily get what you want. You generally get what you need, and she shows you what you need to see. Anyway, so I got the first call. This is earlier last year. Second call, I had a friend of mine reach out to me going, hey, I'm doing this on the weekend. I'll let you know how I go. Third call, I went back and seen this friend of mine who was running ceremonies, and my intention and what she was doing didn't align, so it didn't really work out. But that same day, I went home and I got a message from an old friend of mine, someone that I hadn't seen in probably 10 years. He reached out asking how I'd been. And I told him a little bit about where I'm at, what I'm doing, and he filled me in around what he's doing also. And he told me that he'd been actively sitting with the medicine for about 1.5 years now, and just told me about this beautiful journey he'd been on. And all of a sudden I felt this big pull towards wanting to do this. And like I said, it was like she knew that I needed her at this point in time, because I'd gone to see someone else to actually seek this experience out. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, I get this message from a friend of mine going, hey, this is what I've been doing. I'd love for you to experience it. It was just, people would say coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that everything happens within divine timing. So this was a few weeks ago now, and we got the ball rolling pretty quickly. I heard about the next ceremony, which was on the weekend just gone, which was the 5th until the 7th of April. And I signed myself straight up. I told my partner, I'm like, look, this is what I'm doing. And she actually had her own experience with ayahuasca last year and said that it was something she'd love to do again, but she just isn't ready to yet. And loved that I was about to explore this, because we'd actually been having a few things coming up within our relationship that I spoke about this on Instagram as well. Like, our relationship's fucking amazing. And honestly, I'm so lucky to have such a beautiful person in my corner. But there was lots of stuff from my past that was coming up that I just couldn't get past. I couldn't forgive myself for it. And that was one of the intentions that I went into this ceremony with. Anyways, look, we'll cut to what's happened. So I, packed up my shit. I got ready. I went out and I I started driving down towards where this place was, which was in northern New South Wales. And I found out I was going to be camping. There was no real accommodation there. We were staying on the land, which was actually a beautiful experience in itself. But all these things were right out of my comfort zone. And so the fear started to set in. Like, holy fuck. I'm thinking, I've had bad trips in the past. I've taken lots of acid. I've taken lots of mushrooms. And I've had lots of bad experiences. When I look at it now, they weren't actually bad experiences. I was probably just trying to fight the lesson that I needed to learn. And at the time, I didn't have the mental capacity for that. But anyways, so I was thinking, what if I have a bad trip? I'm stuck down in this place for 2 days. There was all this shit going through my head. And then there was also the fact of the matter that this is a really, really, really powerful and profound medicine that is known for really messing people up. There's obviously people that have bad trips and they go into it with the wrong intentions, or they might have a lot of really dark stuff within them that comes up and they can't handle it. And you hear all sorts of horror stories, and all these thoughts started going through my head, and I started to get this fear. I'm like, what if I don't come back the same man from this? And the fear started to set in. Anyways, so I'm driving down to get to where I need to go, and I gave myself plenty of time. I actually gave myself about an hour's extra to make sure that I got there and I had time to meditate and sit and set my intention and get comfortable with the land that we we're going to be on. And boom, get to about 10, 15 minutes into my trip, and there's just back-to-back traffic on the highway. So first roadblock, and I start thinking to myself, maybe I'm not meant to go. Maybe this is the Lord's way of showing me that, hey, this experience isn't for you just yet. Anyways, I pushed past that. This is one of those moments where I was like, feel the fear and do it anyway, because I knew that this is what I needed. I felt it. I felt it within my soul that this was exactly what I needed at this very point in time. And so I kept driving. Anyways, I ended up stopping along the way because I wanted to get some white clothes, because they say with the experience you want to wear very light tones. I guess it's part of the visual aspect, and obviously being in a temple surrounded by people who are all on the same level, you want to sort of all have really light and bright colors, because it's more of a positive vibe. And it's where we sat was actually the temple of light. We didn't want to invite anything that was dark or any dark spirits into the temple. And so I stopped at Kmart to get a couple of bits and pieces. I looked at my phone. I was like, I've still got plenty of time. I'll be there around 2:30. Originally aimed for 2 o'clock. And then I started driving again, and along the way I crossed the New South Wales border, and I completely forgot that it was daylight savings time. So we jumped forward an hour, and then I realized that I was going to be arriving about 2 minutes before the ceremony was meant to be starting. I fucking stressed. Holy shit, did I stress. I fucking drove like a maniac. I shouldn't probably say that on air, but I drove like a fucking maniac and ended up shaving 20 minutes off my trip. But I get there and everyone's still arriving. And it was like I stressed myself out. So the first lesson there was, for me, was number one, stay on top of the things that you need to do and also be prepared. But also number two, slow the fuck down. There's no need to stress yourself out. At the end of the day, what is meant to be will be. And this is something that plays out for me throughout my life all the time. I'm always in a rush. I'm needing to get to here. I'm needing to get to there. And it's not even like I have a deadline to get to this place. It's just more so I want to get there in a hurry, because I want, okay, what's next? And already this little lesson popped up, and it was, enjoy the journey. Don't be so focused on the outcome. Anyways, so on the way there as well, for anyone that's a believer in these, I saw angel numbers that popped up along the way. I saw 333 pop up on my dashboard. I saw on my clock, sorry. Then I saw 333 pop up at the same time. So 333 on the clock, 333 on my how many kilometers I had left for fuel. And then I look up, and the house I'm driving past on this dirt road with no reception is 333. And angel numbers are meant to represent, I'm not too much of an expert in these, but I know that each one represents something different. But angel numbers are meant to represent protection, and you're on the right path. And when you see this, it's just like whatever thought you've just had, that's an indication that you're on the right path. And so I saw these 3 sets of angel numbers, and I just knew straight away I'm exactly where I'm meant to be at exactly the time I'm meant to be there. And so I arrived, we set the tents up, start getting to know the people that I'm there with. I had one person that I knew there. Everyone else was completely foreign to me. And it was a completely different kettle of fish to what I'm used to. We're out in the middle of the bush on this property with no reception. And the people, they were just simple people that live off the land, and they're not the normal like you or I that are probably stuck in the hustle or bustle of life and always on the grind and always so stressed. These people were just so cruisy and so laid back, and it was actually such a breath of fresh air. So we arrive, set the tents up, get everything ready, and then we go and sit down by the temple. So I did my first journal entry at this stage, and I just started to notice that the anxiety was kicking in. I was actually really not scared. I was very fearful and very apprehensive of what was to come because I had no idea of what was going to happen next. And we walked from where the houses were down through this bush path into this beautiful little hand-built temple. It wouldn't have been much bigger than this room, I'd say. And it was like a dome with like almost like hexagon sort of patterns all through it. And like it looked like there was, the bottom of, the Coke bottle with the glass that was like sort of all concreted into the walls. So it just looked really, really trippy. And then there was like a little bit of an opening at the top with this beautiful glass flower that was like the top window, which sort of showed us the sky. And we sat outside the temple. I got my spot set up, and it was just cushions all around the outside. So we were all sitting on the ground. But everyone was waiting down by the fire. And so there was a fire lit. We're all sitting around. And one thing I noticed at this point in time was that no one was talking. There was not much talk to one another at all. And you could feel the presence. You could feel the energy. Everyone was kind of not nervous, but it was almost like we all had this respect for what we were about to do, because it was no light thing to be going into a ceremony like this in a place that we didn't know with people we didn't know. And so there was everyone just sitting around the fire, and there was this just beautiful silence, this beautiful presence of just respect for one another, respect for ayahuasca, respect for the earth, and respect for the situation we were about to go into. So we sat for, I couldn't tell you how long. We had no reception. I actually turned my phone off and didn't look at my phone the entire weekend because I wanted to actually just be completely at peace with what was going on and surrender to the situation. And then the shaman came down. So after we'd been sitting around waiting for a while, the shaman came down. By this time, it was around about nighttime. It started getting dark, so I'd estimate it was probably about 7 p.m. And here I am thinking that we're going to be starting at 4. Plenty of time. Anyways, we sit. We're in the temple. The shaman goes over a few ground rules. And the main one was that while we're in this ship, or while we're as part of this group in this temple, we all stay together. No one goes wandering off. We could go out to the fireplace. We could go down to the toilet, but no further than that. And the other thing as well was respecting each other's space and respecting the space itself. So if you were going to be throwing up, if you were going to be crying or screaming or anything like that, please just remove yourself temporarily while you're going through that part of the adventure or the journey. And yeah, so we went through the ground rules, and once again, that fear kicked in. It was like, we're about to do this. And then the shaman asked for the people to all start coming in a line and lining up in front of this beautiful altar, which was set up to give thanks and obviously to respect the spirits, respect the elder people, and respect ayahuasca who we were about to sit with. And then he started pouring cups. And so I think I was second in line or third in line for the first cup. And he said to us that if we wanted more, to just come to the altar. We didn't have to wait for anyone else to prompt us or anything like that. If we wanted more, come to the altar. There is not too much, there is not too little, but don't have too much and don't have too little is what he said. And so I had the first cup, and I closed my eyes and I sat there and started meditating. And the first thing that came to my awareness was myself. And I felt like the vibe that I got straight away was that this was like me around the time of the Native American Indians. And I looked up to the sky as I was walking through this pine forest, and it was a really, really, really beautiful night. It was really dark, but everything was lit because of this full moon. And as I continued to walk through this forest, this pine forest, like there wasn't really a path, but I knew where I was going. And I came to this river, this opening, and there was mountains behind it, and I could see the moon, and I looked down in the water, and I could see this reflection of myself. Actually, I've just skipped a part. We sat there and went through our intentions. And my intention for the night after, so everyone said their name, and then they spoke their intention. And my intention was forgiveness. It was to learn to love myself, to have faith, and to let go of my ego. Ego's been a big problem for me as of late. His name's Richard, actually, by the way. I named my ego so that way I can separate who I am and Richard and actually show up as the best version of me rather than letting ego control my life. A little trick that actually really has worked for me. And I called him Richard because he's a bit of a dick. Anyone that's experienced Richard knows exactly what I'm talking about. But anyways, we set our intentions and then we started pouring cups. There was also a musician who was present the entire time who was guiding us through this journey with his beautiful music. So guitar, singing, he had the most beautiful voice. And it was funny, right? The first song he played, I think it was the first song he played, was all about forgiveness. And so this is just after I've had my first cup. I've sat down, I've started meditating, and the first song I hear is forgiveness. And I'm like, wow, tell me that I'm not exactly where I need to be. Like, I was exactly where I needed to be at this point in time. The second song he sang was about loving yourself. The third song he sang was about having faith and trusting and opening yourself up to these experiences. And this is just obviously what started to then guide the rest of the journey for me on the first night. And so, yeah, I started to meditate and I saw this vision of me walking through this beautiful pine forest, and looking up to the moon, looking down to the water, and I saw this reflection of myself. And when I saw this reflection of myself, I started to think about the forgiveness side of things. And I saw the reflection of myself, and the first thing that came up was just this overwhelming sense of love. I just felt this beautiful love, like this energy. It was just like I was just so infatuated by myself. And I reached in to touch the water. And as I touched the water, this overwhelming sense of love just filled my body. And I've never felt anything like this before. So the way that I describe it, and the way I've described it to everyone else that I've spoken to about this, is when I met my partner, Lakin, there was like this giddy schoolgirl moment where I was explaining this, connection that we have to everyone. And everyone that I've spoken to about this is like, yeah, you can see the love written all over your face. But I'd never felt anything like that for myself. And I was feeling that same schoolgirl love, that just like that overwhelming sense of just beauty. I just fucking love myself so much was what I was feeling. And I'd never felt that before in my entire life. And it just filled my whole fucking body and filled my whole cup. And I was in awe. I was just smiling, and I had like tears streaming down my face, just these tears of happiness. And when I looked into the water again, I didn't see myself as I am now. I started to see all older versions of me, all the versions of myself that I need to forgive. Me when I was an ice addict, me when I was unfaithful in relationships, me when I've cheated on partners in the past, me when I was not part of my son's life for the first 6 months of his life and left his mum in really shitty conditions, me when I was a child and I felt so abandoned, me when there was just all these different versions, and it was like I had a Rolodex of photos and I was going and flicking them, and I was going through each version of myself, and that was who I was seeing in the water. And the thing that dropped in and came to me just then was, this is who I am. And I love who I am now. But before I can truly love myself and actually be fully in love with who I am, and in turn give the best version of me to the world, to my partner, to my son, and to others, I need to be in love with every little bit of this. Okay, I need to be able to forgive myself for these things that I've done in the past, because even though those things I did at the time, I have shame around, that's actually what made me who I am today. And if I can't love those versions of me, I can't truly love myself. And if I can't truly love myself, I can never truly love anyone else. And it was just this beautiful experience, this absolutely beautiful experience where I just felt so much love and so much overwhelm of just beauty and compassion and just empathy, and just, it was honestly the most beautiful experience. And I sat with myself and I was like, can I forgive myself for these things? And the first thing that came to my head was, fuck yes, you can, and you will. And I want you to let go of shame, and I want you to let go of the guilt that you hold, because that's what you're holding on to, and that's what's keeping you stuck, and that's what keeps triggering you in your relationship. And that's what keeps coming up for you with these abandonment issues. And that's what keeps coming up for you with these feelings of not wanting to be loved or not feeling like you're deserving of love. This is all due to those old versions of you and you not loving yourself and integrating those versions of you with who you are now. And so I had this crazy experience. And then I thought, fuck yes, I want to go deeper. I want to go deeper into this. And so I got up. This is actually after the second cup, sorry. This is actually after the second cup. So the first cup sort of set the tone. Second cup, I looked in the water and then I had the vision of myself. And then the third cup, I got up, I had the third cup, I sat back down, and all of a sudden I was sober. I felt nothing. And I got angry. I was fucking angry. I was just like, give me more. I want to go deeper. But I've actually heard this now from the shaman and a couple of other people that the medicine works in funny ways. And if you're, I guess, disregarding the lesson that you're getting and you're not taking what you need from it, and you go and try and have more, she'll kick you out. And then the lesson here was for me to just sit with my shit, to actually sit with these things and not rush through these experiences. This was the lesson that I was meant to get, was on that second cup, and I should have just sat with that for the rest of the night. But I had that third cup and it kicked me out. And it's actually been said that ayahuasca, the mother, she'll almost say gently like, hey, well, you were meant to sit there for a little bit longer. So now I'm kicking you out and you're not actually going to experience what you want to experience. Because like I said, she'll give you what you need, not what you want. And at this point in time, I believe that I still had a need to sit with that experience and feel that love overwhelming my body, and just sit with that for so long that my whole body could just soak in it. And so I got really fucking angry. I was like, what the fuck? It stopped working. Like, what's the go? What's going on here? And I was getting up in my head and I was like, fuck, I was so outcome focused. And then this other lesson came through for me. It was like, where else in your life does this play out? And it's almost like it plays out in every area. Like for instance, if I'm having expectations around me and my partner having sex and then it doesn't happen, I get fucking frustrated and it fucking pisses me off. But once again, that's because I'm attaching myself to an outcome, or I'm having expectations around a situation. See, if you let go of expectations, that's when life gets good, because that's what happiness in life is. It's results minus the expectations, right? You'll still get the result, but you'll be happy with what you get no matter what it is. And so this is a huge lesson there for me around just letting go of those expectations and, always trying to rush the process and slowing the fuck down once again. But I didn't learn that at the time. I sat with it and I was getting really pissed off. I actually just started getting tired and I'm like, this is fucking shit. I want more. So I went and had a fourth cup and pew, 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 pew. I fucking started to shut down even further. I just felt tired and I actually fell asleep at one point. And after the fact, I looked back on it and I was like, yeah, that was because I was trying to take control of the situation rather than letting myself just go through the process and actually walk the journey that I was meant to be walking. So very profound lessons on the first night and a lot of big experiences there. I didn't purge, by the way. Nothing really happened. Everyone actually said that the first night they all had a very mild experience. And they say that the first night of ceremony is generally to cleanse. So I feel like I was cleansing a lot of energies. They say that before the ceremony, you're meant to do a vegetarian diet. You're also meant to go without sex. You're meant to limit contact with people that trigger you. And at this point in time, me and my partner hadn't been doing the best. And there was a lot of triggering on my behalf that was happening. For me, I was getting a lot of emotional instability happening. And so I'm thinking about all the things that took place up until the ceremony. And I was like, I didn't abstain from sex. I did eat a vegetarian diet most of the time, but I wasn't in an relaxed state. So that first night I feel showed me what I needed to see. It was like, hey, you just need to love yourself and actually look after yourself and do the things that are good for you. And also listen to what I say, is what the mother was saying. Follow the fucking steps and you'll get the reward. Anyways, went to bed, woke up the next morning. And by the way, all we ate across these couple of days was soup. So we had soup after the ceremony. Everyone sort of sat around and shared a bit about their experience. And then we went about our separate ways and came to the next day and had some breakfast, which was fruit and chia seed pudding. And spent the day just reflecting. So I did a bit of journaling. We went for a swim in this beautiful river that runs through the property where we were. I spent a bit of time just connecting and, talking to each other. And already I felt this massive shift. Like there was this shift for this feeling I had within myself. I felt so much more secure. I felt so much more sure of myself. I felt so much more confident. And I was already confident as it was. But I'm thinking about that, and that might have actually been an element of my pretend self, because deep down when I'm sitting at home and I'm all alone, there's probably a part of me that isn't confident in certain areas. But I felt this overwhelming sense of security and surety with myself. I felt so secure within my relationship. I felt really excited about getting back to my son and being able to just hold him and just give him all this love. And by the time I went through this process of obviously reflecting and connecting with people, it got to about 4 p.m. the next day, and it was time to sit for the next ceremony. And so this time I sat the intention of healing. I wanted to heal, whatever that looked like. And we didn't actually go through the process of saying this out loud. Everyone came down and sat by the fire. Once again, this time there was a bit more chat, but we did hear from the people that were there and had sat before that generally the second night is a lot deeper. So be ready and protect your energy. So the first night was almost like a way of cleansing and getting us ready for the real process. And that's what we went into. So we all sat, the same thing again. We had the music. The beautiful musician just trumming away, he's just playing these beautiful songs with this beautiful voice, and we all had cups. And so once again, I was second. I had my cup, and then I sat and I closed my eyes, and I had the same vision again of me walking through this pine forest. Although this time I looked down in the water, and I looked up, and I was face to face with this Apache Indian with full headdress. I'm talking like this jacked motherfucker. Like, he just gave me this overwhelming sense of just leader. Okay, just this dominant personality, and I felt his presence right there with me in the room. And he put his head to mine, and I asked him what his name was, and he said it was Brown Bear. And after that, we were walking, and at this point in time, I was still just dressed normally. Okay, I was dressed normally like I would be sitting here with you today. And I was walking with Brown Bear. I looked down to my side, and there was a grey wolf walking on my right-hand side, and there was Brown Bear walking on my left-hand side. He had his arm around me, and he was telling me that everything was going to be okay, and that you were going to get exactly what you need, but you need to go through the process. He was telling me that he could give me all the tools I needed. He could give me the support. He could give me the safety and the assurity, but I had to walk this path alone. And we spent a bit of time together, me and this Brown Bear. And we walked and kept walking, and then we got to like an opening where there was other men sitting around a campfire. And I sat down, and we had a conversation, me and Brown Bear. I can't exactly remember what we said, but there was a big conversation around stepping up and, you know, taking control and stepping into your power and becoming the leader that you're meant to become. And then when I got up, I was face to face with this native Indian again, although this time he was putting on like an Indian headdress onto me, and he was putting on Indian face paint, and he was, I guess, initiating me into the tribe as becoming a leader. So I was going through this rite of passage. And after that, I remember sitting for a long while again, and I was walking with the wolf, and I just kept going through these motions, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to have a second cup. So I got up, I went to the altar, and I asked the shaman for a second cup, and he asked me, what is your intention? I said, I want to go deeper. I want to heal through this. I want to go into this more. He gave me this second cup. I sat down, and I closed my eyes, and it was me again looking into the lake, but this time as the Indian. And I looked down the lake, and I started to go back through the Rolodex of seeing all these previous versions of me. Although this time, there were some specific memories that stood out, and it was like there were these memories that I needed to heal through, that I needed to let go of, that I needed to find some sense around, and that I needed to learn to love myself in. And there was a memory that stood out from my childhood when I was about 7 years old. And I remember what happened is we had these beautiful big rendered brick walls that were like beige. And I can't remember what was going on at the time. I think there was construction going on around the house because the house was being renovated. And I had made this mud ball, and I threw it at the rendered brick wall. And my dad saw me do it, and he fucking lost it at me. Absolutely fucking lost it. And he's like, get to your room. I remember just going into like shutdown. I just felt so scared, and I felt so ashamed. And all I was thinking at the time was, I'm just trying to be a kid. I'm just trying to have fun. I didn't know that I was doing anything wrong. He just sent me to my room with no conversation, no nothing, just straight consequence. I remember I sat in my room all day. I've been talking like the whole day. I don't think I had any water. I don't think I had any food that entire day. I remember I did get to come out later in the afternoon for dinner. But I remember being in this room just fucking screaming, like absolutely screaming my lungs out the entire day. And I can vividly see myself doing this, banging on the fucking door, screaming for mum and dad. I just wanted their attention. I just wanted to be acknowledged. I just wanted to feel their love. I just wanted to be nurtured. You know, I was told I was such a naughty boy, and I didn't think I was a naughty boy. I was just trying to be a kid, and I wasn't allowed to be a kid. And so I just had these overwhelming emotions that I couldn't control. And when I did let them out, they just came out like these bursts of anger or these bursts of sadness. And I actually feel this even now still in my heart when I think back to this experience. And I felt abandoned. I felt left behind. I felt like I wasn't worthy of love, because every time I'd scream out, I just wanted dad or mum to come and just give me some comfort, because I was just so alone. And I just screamed and screamed and screamed, and they just told me to shut up. The longer you scream, or the longer you scream, the longer you're going to be in there. That was it. I didn't have any contact with them. I remember just screaming on the other side of this door for hours and hours and hours until I put myself to sleep. And then I woke up and I was screaming again. And it was just fucking horrific. At the age of 7, I just remember this experience. And it's actually something that's come up in counseling for me. It's something that is a vivid memory that stands out in my mind. And there's a couple of other memories I'm going to go into in a second as well, but this one specifically. And so I saw myself in that room. When I had my eyes closed, I could visualize, I could feel my 7-year-old self there just wanting this love. And I sat down next to him as I am now, as I am today. And I held him. And I said to him, Ben, it's okay, brother. I've got you. And I know that I forgot about you, but it's okay now. I'm never going to forget about you again. And you're going to go on to do fucking incredible things. You're going to change the world. And so I just want you to know that you are enough and you are deserving of love. And I am here. I'm going to hold you. And I held myself in this beautiful embrace. And I could just feel my head on his head and his head on my chest. And I just felt him relax. And it was like this whole fucking sense of just like, over me. Just like this relaxing sense just came over me. And so then I got up and I was holding his hand. And I walked him to the door of my bedroom. And I opened the bedroom door and I said, mate, it's okay. You can come with me now. And I walked him out of the house. And then I don't know how it happened, but we flew back to sit exactly in the room where I was sitting having this medicine. And obviously I still had my eyes closed at this point in time, and I could feel my 7-year-old self sitting right next to me. And I was sitting there with my legs crossed in the lotus pose with my 7-year-old self leaning on me. And I felt his presence there. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of love for myself, and the same feeling that I felt from the first night. And it was like this fear or this feeling of not being worthy of love just dissolved, like it just fell away. Then there was, and it was like, then I realized the process for me on this night, and what I needed to do was go through my timeline and heal every single one of these experiences that I'd had. And so the next one was when I was about 8 years old. And I remember I had my birthday party, and I'd invited this one girl. Her name was Bridget. And we're all playing, and she was the only girl there, man. Like, we're all playing, and obviously I invited her because I liked her. I had a bit of a fancy for her. I was in year 3 at the time. And anyways, she wasn't playing with me, and I remember I just fucking stormed off and I ran off and I sat there by myself crying myself to fucking, like, why am I not getting attention? And same thing again, like I know this is actually something that's come up for me from time to time in recent relationships as well, as like if we're in big group settings, there was like a part of me that was still wounded as my 8-year-old self, not getting my needs met by this person. And now I realize that I can meet those needs myself. And so I once again sat with myself, that 8-year-old self, and I held him and I said, Ben, it's okay. You have everything you need right here in your heart. And I just felt him relax. And once again, I walked him back into the room and he sat with me. And the next time was when I was 13, and my mum and dad were breaking up. So we were out near the pool area, and I once again saw myself out near the pool area, watching over my 13-year-old self. And I had my sister on my right-hand side, and mum was in front of us. And she told us that Dad had gone to Indonesia. He was going there for business trips regularly at this point in time, and that she had tried to sleep with him the night before, and he said no, he doesn't want to be with her anymore, and that they were getting a divorce. And I just remember straight away that feeling of just shut down. Like I just couldn't feel anything, like any emotion that I had left the building. And at that point in time, I believe that's when I actually stopped feeling emotion or allowing myself to feel emotion, because it was easier to shut down and sweep the emotions out of the way than actually feel those emotions that I really felt deep down. And this is something that has come up recently in therapy for me. And it's like I wasn't able to actually feel emotions. I cried for the first time in, I think, that I can remember sober in a therapy session a few weeks ago. That was the first time I've actually cried sober since I can remember being a kid. every other time I've cried, it's been drug induced, or it's been after a big bender or alcohol. And it's all these emotions that I've pushed down, deep down, and protected myself from, because it was safer for me not to feel those, because I had to hold space for mum and I had to hold space for my sister at a young age. But this is also where another big part of that abandonment issue came from, because my sister said, why would dad do that? And she was sobbing. And the first thing that I said was, because he doesn't love us. He doesn't love us anymore. And my 13-year-old brain thought that was the truth. And so I've held on to this for almost 20 years. And then I realized the pain that my mum felt, and I just felt this overwhelming sense of just, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I feel so bad for the things that I put her through and the things I put my dad through. Because then I thought back to it, and this is all happening like while I had my eyes closed. I'm visualizing this, and I saw my dad, and I saw him in so much fucking pain. I saw him in a relationship that he wasn't happy in. This is a thing, like I speak to my dad regularly, and I don't think he's ever going to be happy. I don't think he's ever going to find true fulfillment in his life. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of sadness for him, because he's been married like 6 times or something like that, I think. 6 or 7 either way. And that just shows me that he's a broken man. He will never be able to actually find happiness. And so he settles for things that fill the needs at the time. And this is the same problem I had in my relationships previously, was that I was looking for what I was missing myself in someone else, and then I get that need met and the relationship would fizzle out. No longer. But then I saw it from his perspective. Obviously, because I got told by mum, I had this hatred and this resentment towards him. But then I started to see it from his perspective, and I'm like, he's just a broken man, and he's just doing the best with what he had. And then I saw myself holding my old man, holding my dad, and just being like, Dad, it's okay, mate. I love you and I forgive you. And I'm so sorry. And I feel your pain, and it's not yours to carry alone any longer. And I'm here, mate. I've got you. It's okay. You're safe. And then I felt the resentment that I had towards my father just dissolve and leave the building. And then the next experience was same thing with my mum. And I looked at my mum in the eyes, and I saw how much pain she was in, and just how much anger she had, and just how sad she was. And she's held on to that pain for 20 years. And I feel that I've held that pain as well for her for 20 years also. And so I've had this resentment towards my mum and never wanted to be close to her. And now I know why. It's because she had this repellent up. It was like this anger of not letting people close, because she was just so stuck in that victim mindset. And I saw the same thing happen. I saw me and my mum looking eye to eye, and I just held her and I grabbed her, and she's almost 70 something years old now. And I held her for the first time, and I held her close. And this is something I'd never wanted to do. Like when I hug my mum, it's like a quick touch and like kiss on the cheek, and like I'm like, get away from me. I don't want to be close to you. That's the relationship I have with my mum since I was about 13 years old. But I saw myself just holding her, and I just felt her just relax. And I said, Mum, it's okay. You don't have to carry this. You don't have to carry the pain any longer. And I'm so sorry. And you deserve so much better. And I'm here. I've got you. I'm your son, and I will support you, and I've got you. And I just told her that she's going to be okay. And once again, I felt tears just welling up in my eyes, and I started sobbing, because I realized that for so long I had this resentment towards my mum and my dad, but I really have so much love towards them, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation with you guys. And so for that, I'm so fucking grateful. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of love for them that I've never felt before. I'm almost tearing up now thinking about it, because it's just so beautiful. I've actually never experienced anything like that before. That love that I felt for them, and that wanting to be close to them. Honestly, just beautiful experience. And then I saw this vision of me walking with my mum in Kangaroo Point, which is where she lives, along the water. And I had my arm around her, and she was just looking up at me. I was looking down at her, and I just said to her, Mum, you're safe. It's okay, you're safe, and I've got you. And I just told her how proud of her I was, and that everything was going to be okay. And yeah, that was sort of where that experience ended. I just remember sitting there and just bathing in this love for so long. And once again, the musician, oh my God, the next song that he started playing was I Love My Dad. And that then phased out into I Love My Mum. And I was just fucking there. I was almost sobbing. I was just like so happy. I had this overwhelming sense of just love, and just this feeling of just like, I don't know, just, I can't even describe it. It was just this pure love that I had for my parents. And this wound that I had from fucking age 8 through till about just now had been healed within the matter of 2 days. And I felt for the first time in my life, I wanted to have a relationship with my parents, and I wanted to have a better relationship with myself, and I wanted to show up as a better partner, and I wanted to show up as a better son, and I wanted to show up for my son as a better father. And I had all these things that just started lining up, and all this stuff that was happening, all these things I was getting triggered around within my relationship, they all just didn't matter anymore. They didn't matter because now I had so much security in myself because I knew who I was, and I knew that I was worthy of love, and I knew that I was enough, and I knew that I had everything that I needed, and that the life that I've lived has got me to where I am today. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. So I just let go of all the shame. I let go of all the guilt, and I had this pure love for myself. And then I remember seeing myself, my partner Lakin, and my beautiful son William, and we were just all standing together, but all in Indian headdress. And then I came back to Brown Bear, and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "It is done. It is done. It is done." And I just felt everything just lift. And it was like this journey I'd just been on, and I'd walked that road, and I'd gone through the hard yards, and I sat with the uncomfortable shit that I'd been fucking sweeping under the rug for so fucking long. And then I was like, okay, cool, I want to go deeper. And so I went for a third cup. You thought I would have learned my lesson from the last night. Third cup, nothing. I started to get angry again. And then at this point in time, people are starting to purge. They're starting to throw up. And that's like the negative energy leaving the body. It's all these things that they need to get rid of coming up. And then I was sitting there and I was like, fuck, this is ridiculous. But this time I sat with it and I just started to meditate, and I'm like, okay, cool. What do I need from here? What do I need? What do I need? What do I need? And I'm like, maybe I need to go deeper. Maybe I need to trust, and I just need to let go and give myself to ayahuasca. So I had a fourth cup, and same thing again. I was a bit phased out, not phased out, a bit dazed out at this time, but I still wasn't feeling the full effects of what I was feeling previously. I'd moved on from this part of the journey. And so I just kept embodying that love that I had for myself. And as the night went on, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go for a fifth cup. So I went for a fifth cup and I had a tiny little bit. He looked at me, I looked at him, and he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay." So he poured this cup. By the way, all the facilitators and the shaman and everyone, they're all in full Indian headdress and, flowers in their hair, and they're dressed like as native Indians. And so like, if I was tripping, this shit would have been fucking wild. But I had this fifth cup and I sat down and I closed my eyes, and it was just like the mother woke up and she was just like, "All right, are you sure you're ready for this? Because I'm going to sit you the fuck down and I'm going to give you exactly what you want." And I got it. I sat down. I literally melted against the wall for the next hour and a half. And the musician just started strumming these songs that he was playing. And things got really weird. Like, he started going, I give everyone permission to get weird. And I was making fucking bird noises and animal noises. And it was just, I felt like a little kid. I was in stitches. I was fucking laughing. And every time I closed my eyes, I was like in a spaceship. I was flying around, and I was going back through my timeline and going forward into my timeline and seeing all these things that hadn't happened yet, and seeing all these things that had happened, and seeing how everything along my timeline just lined up and all made it part of who I am. And it just made me realize that I can heal, and we can heal everything. We can heal everything with love. And by giving that love to myself, now that I have this love within myself, I can give that love to other people, and I can help them, and I can help to heal the relationship I have with my parents. I can help to heal the relationship I have with my son. I can help other people to heal their relationships by teaching them to love themselves, because at the end of the day, love is all healing. And this was like this experience that I got. But trust me, there was points in that last hour and a half after that fifth cup where I was holding on for dear life, and I was like, holy fuck, this trip is hectic. I could feel my jaw tightening up. I could feel time slowing down. I could hear echoes. I could hear voices. I could hear people talking. It was fucking heavy. It was fucking heavy, man. And I was worried there for a bit. But it eventually wore off, and I came back to reality, and all of a sudden I was straight and I was sober, and I felt really good. And I was like, that experience just did what I've been trying to do in 10 years in 2 days. 2 days. 2 8-hour experiences, and I healed these parts of me that I'd kept pushed away for so long that I probably couldn't even have accessed by myself. I would have just kept pushing them away. And to me, that is just fucking such a beautiful experience to now feel what I feel. And even just coming back into the world after being in that experience, I just feel this security. I feel this light energy. I feel just like I've stepped into the healthy masculine. And I'm able to hold space for myself now and show up as a man that I'm meant to be. And then on the third day, after all this, we did Cambo. And Kambo is known as the Amazon antidote or the Amazon medicine. It's the strongest medicine in the Amazon. And what it is the poison dart frog. And so they burn your arm. So I've got 3 dots, 1, 2, 3, where they burn your arm, and then they administer the toad venom into the burns, and they put a little bit of water on it, which then gets into your bloodstream, and this forces you to purge. And so then you sit there and you feel this overwhelming sense of fucking warmth. It's like this heat that just comes up from your toes all the way up to your head and just fills you with like this, almost like this rage. And I was just like, ah! And I breathe through it, and I breathe through it, and I breathe through it. And you've got to scull water as you're doing this. And I think I sculled about 4 liters of water in literally like 3 to 5 minutes. And then I started purging, and I kept dry reaching, and it wouldn't come up. And the shaman put his hand on my leg, and he said, "Brother, don't force it, let it come." I started to move my body, and just naturally move my body in what felt intuitively good for me. And all of a sudden, it all came up, and I just went, "Wah!" And everything from in my stomach, all the water had come up, but there was all these chunks of like disease and all sorts of stuff that had been growing in my stomach that came up into the bucket. And I felt beautiful after that. I felt so light. I felt like I just cleansed all that negative energy out, all the stuff that had been stuck in me for so long, all these negative feelings, these emotions, these thoughts, all coming up through me. And I'd healed the relationship with myself. I'd healed the part of me that couldn't forgive me for not being a part of my son's life for the first 6 months of his life. I healed the part of me that had cheated on partners in the past and been cheated on, by the way. I healed the part of me that hated my parents because I didn't really hate them. I just didn't know how to handle what was going on at the time. And I held on to that for so long and told myself that story, and I was able to let go of that. I healed myself for being a crackhead. I healed so many parts of me. And like I said, it was like going through this Rolodex. And by the end of that experience, I remember closing my eyes again, and I was sitting there, and in the room with me, sitting in this tribal circle around me, were all the versions of myself that I just healed. And so I had all these parts of me that were now part of me, and I was proud of having them as part of me. And I was their leader, and I was now leading them into the future to create this beautiful future. And so overall, like, this experience to me was life-changing, and I would highly recommend it to anyone. Now, that being said, I feel that with ayahuasca, now that we've had this conversation and you've listened to this and you've got an awareness around it, she will call to you. You will feel her call. It's not like a drug where you want to just go and take it and abuse it. You need to respect this because it is beautiful medicine that can change your life and will change your life if used accordingly. If you respect her, she'll respect you. And I learned that the hard way. But long story short, I got what I wanted, but I also got what I needed. And what I needed was to learn to love myself, to heal the parts of me and forgive myself, because until I could do that, there was no chance of me going into the future and having a healthy relationship or having a, healthy relationship with my son, healthy relationship with my partner, or just even being the best version of myself, because I was still holding on to the past. Another thing that I wanted to let go of was let go of the past so I could move forward into the future. And by healing these parts of me, I felt like I actually really was able to let go of that past and stop living from the fear of the past and start living towards the abundance of the future and what's actually possible. So guys, that was my experience with ayahuasca, the mother, the beautiful thing that she is. And I highly recommend that anyone that is intrigued, reach out, have a conversation with me. I'd love to chat to you about that and point you in the right direction, because it is available. It's there for you if it is something that you'd like to explore. But guys, I hope that this has been intriguing and you guys have gotten something out of this chat, because I hope that by sharing this and obviously going really deep on the vulnerability of, I guess, the things that I'd kept stuck and pushed away for so long, that it might help to open your mind around doing some of this work for yourself, because it's only through feeling the hurt that we're able to heal through it and actually move forward in our lives.